All right, so we're diving deep into Irrigation System Installer interview prep today.
Yeah.
And we've got a whole bunch of resources from RoleCatcher, career guides, interview guides, and even some insights into how their AI can help tailor your answers.
Right.
The mission is to help you not just answer questions, but really impress with your knowledge and stand out from the competition.
You got it. So
Let's start by just kind of understanding
Yeah.
what this job really entails.
sure.
It's easy to think, okay, irrigation system installer, putting pipes in the ground, but the career guide actually paints a much more complex picture.
Absolutely. It's
Right.
really a lot more involved than that. It's about designing systems to make sure that crops thrive while using water responsibly. Sustainability is such a big factor now.
Yeah, and I think, even just thinking about the different types of irrigation systems
Yeah.
that are out there,
Yeah.
like it's not just,
Yeah.
one type fits all.
No, not at all. There's drip irrigation and sprinklers and, all sorts of things.
Yeah, and even, thinking about
Yeah.
different climates and soil types,
Right. Exactly.
like that all plays a role.
Absolutely.
So it's definitely more complex than it seems on the surface.
Yeah. I think a lot of people don't realize how much goes into it.
So let's get into these interview questions.
Okay.
RoleCatcher gives us 10 sample questions. And we're going to go through each one and kind of talk about, what is the interviewer really trying to get at with this question? And then how can you approach it strategically?
Awesome. I like it.
So the first question is, what experience do you have in irrigation system installation?
All right, so this is probably the most common first question.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people, if they're going into this interview, maybe they're,
Yeah.
just starting out. They don't have a ton of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So how can you approach this question even if you don't have a lot of,
Yeah.
professional
Right.
experience?
Well, I think, the key here is to showcase your understanding of the role, even if your hands-on experience is limited.
Right.
Think back to any relevant projects. Maybe you helped with a garden irrigation system or volunteered on a farm. Highlight those experiences and connect them to the responsibilities outlined in the career guide.
Yeah, even something like,
Yeah.
I helped my uncle
Right.
with his farm's irrigation system.
Yeah, absolutely. Or,
Right.
Something.
Even if it's just, helping a neighbor with their sprinklers or something, just to show that you have some kind of
Yeah.
familiarity with it.
And I think, even if you're still working towards them, like mentioning, hey, I'm pursuing a CIT certification,
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
shows that you're committed
Oh,
to
I see.
professional
Yeah,
development.
and gives the interviewer something tangible
Yeah.
to measure your knowledge.
Yeah. And it really shows that initiative that you're going above and beyond
For sure.
to, learn and grow in this field.
So what if they hit you with a follow-up question and they're like, okay, tell me about a time you faced a challenge
Oh, yeah.
while working on an irrigation project.
That's a good one.
Like, how would you
Yeah, that's a classic one.
approach that?
I think, pick a specific situation, even if it was a small scale project where you had to problem solve. Maybe a sprinkler head wouldn't adjust properly, or you noticed inconsistent water pressure. Walk them through how you identify the problem, the steps you took to fix it, and what you learned from the experience.
Yeah.
And
And I think even
if it's something small.
yeah, I was going to say, like, even if
Yeah.
it's something small,
Yeah,
it shows that you can think critically
absolutely.
and solve problems.
Yeah,
Okay, question number 2.
right.
What equipment and tools are required for irrigation system installation?
Okay.
I feel like a lot of people would just be tempted to
Yeah,
like list off a bunch of tools,
yeah,
but I'm guessing there's a better way
there is.
to approach this.
Yeah, the interviewer wants to see that you have a working knowledge of the tools, not just the ability to memorize a list. So instead of just saying shovels, trenchers, pipes, describe the function of each tool and how it's used during installation.
Okay.
You
So
know?
give an example.
Yeah, so instead of just saying trencher, you could say, a trencher is used to efficiently dig trenches for laying pipes, ensuring they're at the correct depth to prevent damage and ensure optimal water flow.
I like it.
Something like that.
Yeah. And it shows that you understand like the why
Exactly.
behind the what.
Yeah, not just what it is, but why you're using it and how it works.
Yeah.
And I think to really stand out, mention specific types of equipment, like different sprinkler heads or controllers, for example. You could say, I'm familiar with rotary sprinkler heads and their advantage in windy conditions or something like that.
Yeah, I like that.
You know,
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Specificity, I think, is always good.
Specificity is key in these things.
Okay, so what about a follow-up question? Like,
Okay.
can you explain the difference between a rotary and a spree sprinkler head?
Okay.
And when you might choose one over the other?
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great follow-up because it really gets into the, the nuances of the design.
Yeah.
And, the interviewer wants to see that you understand those differences. You're not just putting pipes in the ground, you're making informed decisions.
Right.
Based on, the specific needs of the landscape.
Okay, question number 3.
All right.
How do you ensure that an irrigation system is installed correctly and functioning properly?
Right.
This one seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing there are some
key points.
Nuances here.
Yeah, the interviewer is looking for a systematic approach, not a wing it attitude.
Yeah, right.
So start by outlining your step-by-step process for ensuring quality and functionality.
Okay, so I talk about referencing blueprints, double-checking measurements, conducting pressure tests.
Absolutely.
In each stage.
Those are all good ones.
What about documentation?
Oh, documentation is huge. Keeping detailed records of the installation process ensures accountability and simplifies troubleshooting down the line. You could even mention using a checklist to make sure all the essential steps are completed.
I like it. So it shows that you're organized?
Yes.
You're detail-oriented?
Exactly.
Okay, so what if they follow up with a question? Like, imagine you discover a leak after the system is pressurized.
Oh, yeah.
How would you go about finding and fixing it?
Okay, yeah. So this is where things get real. It tests your problem-solving skills in a real-world scenario.
Mm-hmm.
So highlight your methodical approach by mentioning using pressure gauges to isolate the section with the leak, visually inspecting for damage, and even using specialized leak detection equipment if necessary.
Yeah.
Those kind of things.
Okay, question number 4. How do you ensure that an irrigation system is water efficient? This feels like a big one,
It is.
Especially with all the...
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, all the concerns about water conservation.
It's a major focus in the industry, and the interviewer wants to see that you're installing systems responsibly.
So how do we connect our answer to that bigger picture?
Okay, I'll start by demonstrating your understanding of water conservation principles.
Okay.
Mention using drought-tolerant plants, incorporating soil moisture sensors to prevent overwatering, and designing systems that deliver water directly to the roots, minimizing evaporation, those kind of things.
And mentioning those certifications again.
Right.
Like the CLIA.
Yes, CLIA is a good one.
Just reinforces that.
Shows that you're an expert in water efficiency.
Okay, so what if they follow up and they're like, a client wants to install a traditional sprinkler system, but that a drip irrigation system would be much more water efficient? How would you approach that conversation?
That's a good question because it's a test of diplomacy and persuasion.
Yes.
You need to, showcase your communication skills and your commitment to sustainability. Explain the benefits of a drip system clearly and respectfully, addressing the client's concerns while advocating for the most efficient and environmentally sound solution.
Mm-hmm.
So, you can mention how a drip system minimizes water waste, reduces weed growth, and can even lead to healthier plants.
Yeah, I like it.
All
right, question number 5. How do you troubleshoot irrigation system issues?
Okay.
Time to put on our detective hats.
Yeah, this is where you get to be a detective. The interviewer wants to know if you have a systematic approach to identifying and solving problems, not just randomly tinkering until something works.
So how do we structure our answer to show that we're not just randomly tinkering?
Start by outlining the steps you take to diagnose a problem. This could include checking the controller settings, inspecting the valves and sprinkler heads, and testing the water pressure. Explain how you use your knowledge of the different components and their functions to pinpoint the issue.
So, for example, if the sprinkler heads aren't rotating properly, I would check the water pressure to see if it's within range.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
And mentioning specific troubleshooting tools, like pressure gauges or multimeters, shows that you're comfortable using technology to diagnose and solve problems.
Okay, what if the interviewer's like, tell me about a time you couldn't figure out what was wrong with an irrigation system?
Oh, yeah.
What did you do?
We all have those head-scratching moments, right?
Yeah, of course.
So honesty and resourcefulness are key here. It's perfectly fine to admit that you don't have all the answers.
Right.
What matters is showing your willingness to seek help when needed.
Mm-hmm.
So you could mention consulting with a more experienced colleague, researching online forums or contacting the manufacturer for technical support, those kind of things.
So showing that you're resourceful.
Exactly.
Okay, question number 6.
Right.
What safety procedures do you follow when installing irrigation systems?
Okay.
So obviously safety is paramount.
Safety is always number one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But what specifics should we emphasize here?
Think beyond the obvious, like hard hats and safety glasses. The interviewer is looking for a deep understanding of potential hazards and your proactive approach to safety.
Okay. So like trench safety.
Trench safety, absolutely. Shoring up the walls to prevent collapse.
Yeah.
Those kind of things are essential. Also, highlight your knowledge of proper power tool handling, lockout, hag-out procedures when working with electrical components, and the importance of locating underground utilities before you start digging.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Those are all critical.
Yeah, and even just like personal safety, right? Like wearing appropriate clothing,
Yep.
staying hydrated, taking breaks.
Hydration is key. Especially if you're working outside in the heat.
Especially if it's hot.
Yeah.
What if they're like, tell me about a time you had to correct a coworker
Oh, that's a good one.
who wasn't following
safety
procedures?
That's always a tricky one.
Right.
Yeah, but, the key is to approach it calmly and professionally. Explain that you would first remind your coworker of the specific safety procedure and the potential risks involved.
Yeah.
And if the behavior continued, you would escalate the issue to a supervisor.
Okay.
You don't want to be the safety police, but you also don't want to,
compromise.
Yeah, put anyone in danger.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so before we move on to the next question, I want to circle back to RoleCatcher's AI features.
All right.
Because we talked about them in the intro.
Yeah.
And, this is something that's really supposed to be a game changer.
It is. It really is.
For interview prep.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about what this AI...
Okay, so it's more than just sample answers. RoleCatcher's AI actually analyzes the specific job description, identifying the key skills and experience the employer's looking for, and then helps you tailor your answers to highlight those strengths.
So it's like having
It's like a cheat sheet.
Personalized cheat sheet.
Yeah, a personalized cheat sheet for each job application.
I love it.
It's really amazing.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and it can also provide feedback on your responses.
Oh, cool.
Pointing out areas where you might be too vague or not showcasing enough technical knowledge.
Okay.
So it's like having a virtual career coach in your pocket.
Wow.
It's really great.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to these interview questions.
All right, let's do it.
Question number 7. How do you ensure that an irrigation system is properly maintained?
Okay. Well, routine maintenance is really important to prevent costly repairs down the road and ensure the longevity of the system. The interviewer wants to see that you're proactive about maintenance.
So what are some key elements of a good maintenance plan?
Well, regular inspections are essential. Visually checking for leaks, testing water pressure, inspecting sprinkler heads for clogs or damage. You want to catch those little issues before they become big problems.
And what about seasonal adjustments?
Yeah, seasonal adjustments are critical, especially in areas with cold winters.
Right.
Winterizing the system is essential to prevent freeze damage, which can be a very costly repair. This might involve draining the system, insulating exposed pipes, and even using compressed air to blow out any remaining water.
So I should highlight my understanding of those seasonal procedures.
Yes, definitely.
And adapting to different climates.
Absolutely adapt to the specific climate conditions because every region's a little different.
Okay, what about documentation? Is that important?
Oh, documentation is crucial. Keep detailed records of all maintenance activities. That way you can track the system's performance over time and identify any potential trends or recurring issues. It also just shows a really professional approach to your work.
Okay, so here's a scenario that they might throw at you. Imagine you inherit a neglected irrigation system. What would be your first steps in assessing its condition and developing a maintenance plan?
Okay, so this is a chance to showcase your diagnostic skills and your systematic approach.
Okay.
You could say something like, well, first, I would conduct a thorough inspection of the entire system, noting any visible damage signs of wear and tear or potential safety hazards.
Okay, so start with that visual inspection.
Right, get a baseline assessment.
Okay.
And then you can mention testing the water pressure, checking the controller settings, flushing the system to remove any debris or sediment that might have accumulated over time.
Got it.
And don't forget to gather information from the client.
Oh, yeah.
Like any past maintenance records or any known issues that they've experienced.
Yeah.
That just shows that you're thorough and proactive in your approach.
Okay, question number 8. How do you ensure that an irrigation system is designed for the specific landscape that it is installed in?
Okay, this one gets a little more complex. It's not just about the technical installation, it's about understanding the relationship between irrigation and landscaping.
Okay.
So the interviewer wants to see that you can tailor your designs to the specific needs of the site, considering things like soil types, sun exposure, plant types, and even the client's preferences.
Okay, so it's really a custom solution for every...
Every landscape is different.
Yeah.
It's like a fingerprint.
Okay, so how could I highlight that in my answer?
Emphasize the importance of a site assessment. Analyze the soil type, evaluate sun exposure and wind patterns, identify any existing plants, trees, or hardscape features that might influence the design.
Okay, so taking that holistic view of the
Yes, the whole picture.
landscape.
Absolutely.
Okay, and then also thinking about the client's needs.
Yes, the client is ultimately the one who's going to be using and maintaining the system.
Right.
So you want to make sure it meets their needs. Maybe they're really into water conservation, or maybe they have specific areas they want to irrigate, like a vegetable garden. So those are important things to consider.
Okay, and what about local water restrictions? Are those something to be thinking about?
Oh, absolutely. Local regulations are crucial. You want to show that you're aware of any water restrictions or guidelines in the area and that you're committed to designing systems that are compliant and sustainable.
Okay, so here's a potential follow-up. Describe a challenging landscape you've had to design an irrigation system for and how you overcame those challenges.
Okay, so this is a classic behavioral interview question. They want to see how you handle real-world problems. So think back to a project where you faced some unique challenges. Maybe it was a steep slope, a complex layout, or even a limited water supply.
Right.
Walk them through the challenges, the solutions you came up with, and the outcome. How did it all work out in the end?
So it's all about showing that you can adapt.
Yeah, creative, be resourceful.
Find solutions, yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, question number 9. How do you keep up to date with the latest irrigation system technologies and techniques?
All right, so this one's all about continuous learning and professional development.
Right.
You want to showcase that you're staying ahead of the curve in this ever-changing industry.
So how do I do that?
Well, you can talk about attending industry conferences like the Irrigation Show, or maybe taking continuing education courses, or participating in webinars and online forums where industry professionals share their knowledge and insights, things like that.
And those professional organizations.
Yes, joining a professional organization like the Irrigation Association is a great way to stay connected to the industry.
Right.
You get access to valuable resources like publications, research articles, and you can network with other professionals.
Okay, so that network is really valuable.
Oh, yeah, it's invaluable.
Okay, and staying up to date on local regulations.
Absolutely. You always want to be aware of any changes in local regulations or water conservation initiatives.
All right, so a potential follow-up question could be, tell me about a recent advancement in irrigation technology that you've incorporated into your work and how it has benefited your clients.
Okay, so this is a great opportunity to showcase your technical expertise.
Yeah.
Maybe you started using smart controllers that adjust watering schedules based on real-time weather data. Or maybe you've implemented soil moisture sensors to optimize irrigation efficiency.
So really kind of highlighting those.
Yeah, the cutting-edge stuff.
Yeah, the new technology that you're using.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we get to that last interview question,
Yeah.
I want to touch on RoleCatcher's AI features again.
Okay.
Because we talked about the AI tailoring your answers.
Yeah.
But they have another feature that's really cool, the AI feedback.
Oh, yeah, the feedback feature is amazing.
So tell me about that.
So after you've written your answers, you can use the AI to analyze them. It'll point out any potential weaknesses, like if your answers are too vague, or if you're not giving enough specific examples, or if you need to showcase more technical depth.
Okay. So it's kind of like having an editor.
Yeah, like having a
Like-
personal editor for your interview responses.
That's really cool. And I love that, it's giving you that specific feedback.
Yes, it's tailored to your answers.
Yeah.
So it's really helpful.
And then they have that video practice tool as well.
Oh, yeah, the video practice tool is fantastic. You can record yourself answering interview questions and then get feedback on your delivery, your body language, and your overall presentation.
So it's like having a virtual mock interview.
Exactly. It's like having a coach right there with you.
That's really cool.
It's really great for boosting your confidence
Yeah.
and, reducing those pre-interview jitters.
I love it.
Yeah, it's a great tool.
Okay, question number 10, the last one. How do you ensure that an irrigation system is installed within the allotted budget and timeline?
All right, so this is all about project management skills, which are essential for any successful installer.
Right.
The interviewer wants to know that you can manage time and resources effectively.
So how do we highlight those project management skills?
Well, first, emphasize the importance of clear communication. That means establishing realistic timelines with the client, outlining the scope of work in detail, and obtaining any necessary permits or approvals before you start the project.
And then thinking about those expenses.
Yes, managing expenses is crucial. You want to track your expenses carefully and make sure you're staying within the budget. You could mention using project management software or spreadsheets to monitor costs, track progress, and identify any potential overruns before they become a problem.
Okay.
Those kinds of things.
And then just being able to adapt, right? Because I feel like with any project, things come up.
Oh, yeah. You always got to have a contingency plan.
Right.
Unexpected challenges can arise, so you need to be prepared to adjust the budget or timeline if necessary.
So how do we highlight that we can adapt to those?
Well, you could mention having backup suppliers for critical components.
Yeah.
Or allocating a small percentage of the budget for unexpected expenses, things like that.
Got it.
Just show that you're thinking ahead and anticipating potential problems.
Okay, here's a follow-up question that they might ask. Tell me about a time you had to adjust the budget or timeline for an irrigation project. How did you handle that situation?
Okay, so this is where your communication skills really come into play.
Right.
Be honest and transparent. Maybe you encountered unexpected site conditions that required additional excavation, or maybe a supplier delayed the delivery of crucial parts.
Yeah, those things happen.
They do happen. It's all part of the job. So walk them through the specific challenge you faced, the steps you took to address it, and how you communicated those changes to the client.
So just showing that you can be flexible and communicate clearly.
Exactly. Communication is key in those situations.
Okay, so we've covered, all those interview questions. We've talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare.
Right.
Is there anything else that our listeners can do to really, stand out and show their passion for this field?
I think, one thing that's really helpful, and the career guide touched on this, is creating a portfolio of your work.
So even if you're just starting out, you're saying like having a portfolio would be beneficial?
Absolutely. Even if it's just photos of projects you've assisted with, just something to show that you've got some hands-on experience, it really can make a difference.
Okay. And then for people who have, more experience,
right,
it can show.
Yeah, it can showcase the complexity and the different types of projects you've handled.
Okay.
It lets employers see your problem-solving skills in action.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap things up, what are some key takeaways that our listeners should keep in mind?
All right, so first, preparation is key.
Okay.
Research the company, the role, the industry, use those resources we talked about, including RoleCatcher's AI tools. And then second, highlight those transferable skills, even if you don't have a ton of professional experience. Talk about any relevant projects, volunteer work, even hobbies that demonstrate those key skills, like problem-solving technical aptitude, and, a willingness to learn. And then third, showcase your passion for the field. Talk about your interest in sustainability, water conservation, the role that irrigation plays in, food security and a healthy environment.
And then that portfolio that we talked about.
Yes, the portfolio is huge. It's visual evidence of your skills.
Right.
It really can make you stand out.
Okay, awesome. So with the right preparation and a genuine passion for this work, you can turn this interview into a really great opportunity.
Absolutely.
To launch your career.
It's a growing field.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity out there, so go get them.